The morning sun rose over the Seoul Diplomatic Center, painting the glass building in shades of gold and orange. Stood at the main entrance, her hands folded neatly in front of her. She had been waiting for this moment for 3 months. Today was the day that would arrive. Not just any, but a family. A real family with children. Behind her legs, her 6-year-old son peeked out at the landing pad. His small fingers gripped the fabric of her formal dress. In his other hand, he held a crinkled plastic bag filled with his favorite snacks. He never went anywhere without them. "Mama," whispered, "will the aliens be scary?" Smiled and touched his hair gently. "No, my love, they will be different, but different is not scary." The security officer stood a few steps away. His arms were crossed over his chest and his face showed no emotion. He did not like this plan. Bringing alien children to Earth was dangerous. Bringing a human child to meet them was even more dangerous. But the diplomats had decided and had to follow orders. "The ship is entering the atmosphere," said, looking at his tablet. 2 minutes. Nodded, she took a deep breath and felt her heart beat faster. This was history. For the first time ever, a family was visiting Earth. Not soldiers, not scientists. A family. A mother, a father, and their 2 young cubs. They were a proud species from a planet called Velar Prime. They had fur that changed color with their emotions. They had 4 ears instead of 2. They were taller than humans and stronger too. For 50 years, humans had traded and talked through screens, but they had never trusted each other enough to meet in person. Until now. The ship appeared in the sky like a silver bird. It made no sound as it came down slowly toward the landing pad. His eyes grew wide. He had seen pictures of ships before, but seeing one in real life was completely different. It was beautiful and strange at the same time. The ship touched the ground without even a bump. For a moment, nothing happened. Then a door opened on the side and a ramp extended down to the ground. Held her breath. The first one to step out was Ambassador. He was tall, nearly 7 feet, with dark blue fur that seemed almost black in the sunlight. His 4 ears stood straight up, alert and careful. His yellow eyes scanned everything, the building, the guards, the landing pad. When his eyes found hiding behind his legs, he stopped for just a moment. Behind came his mate. Her fur was lighter, a soft gray color. She moved with grace, but her eyes were just as careful as her husband's. She looked at everything like it might be a trap. And then came the cubs. And Lyra tumbled down the ramp together, their small bodies covered in fluffy fur that was not yet one solid color. Patches of gray and blue mixed together on their small forms. Their 4 ears were too big for their heads, flopping slightly as they moved. They looked around with huge, curious eyes, taking in everything at once. Forgot to be shy. He stepped out from behind his mother, still holding his bag of snacks. The cubs saw him immediately. Their ears perked up high. They had never seen a human child before. Made a sharp sound in his throat. Both cubs froze and looked at their father. He said something in their language and they moved back to stand beside their mother. But their eyes never left. Stepped forward and bowed slightly. "Ambassador, welcome to Earth. We are honored to receive you and your family." Returned the bow, though it looked strange with his tall body. "Diplomat, thank you for this invitation." His voice was deep and rough, like stones rubbing together. "I must say, we did not expect you to bring a child." "This is my son," said, placing her hand on the boy's shoulder. "We wanted you to feel safe here. If I bring my own child, it shows that I believe this place is safe for children, yours and mine." His fur changed color slightly, shifting to a warmer shade of blue. Had studied body language. This meant he was thinking, considering her words carefully. Spoke for the first time. Her voice was softer than her mate's. "In our culture, bringing a child to a diplomatic mission is either a great insult or a great honor." "I hope it is an honor," said. Looked at, the boy was staring at the cubs with pure wonder on his face. "Your child carries something in his hand. What is it?" Look down at snack bag. Those are snacks, small foods that children eat between meals, likes to share them with people he meets. His ears twitched. Share food with strangers. Yes, said simply, it is a human custom. The family exchanged a look that could not read. On Velar Prime, food was shared only within the family pack. Sharing food with outsiders was strange and confusing to them. Stepped forward, breaking the moment. Ambassador, if you will follow me, I will take you to your rooms. You must be tired from your journey. Nodded once. He placed a large hand on each of his cubs' heads and guided them forward. As they walked past, little Lyra turned her head to look at him. Her 4 ears flopped forward with curiosity, smiled at her and waved. Lyra made a soft chirping sound. It was a sound of surprise and interest. No one had ever waved at her before. Noticed and quickly guided her daughter forward, but she looked back with something new in her eyes, not suspicion, not fear, something else. Curiosity. The group walked into the building together, held hand as they followed behind the family. She could see the cubs looking back every few seconds, their big eyes finding again and again. Mama whispered, the fluffy ones keep looking at me. Maybe they want to be your friends, whispered back. Thought about this, then he nodded seriously. Okay, I will share my cookies with them. Smiled. Her son had such a simple view of the world. To him, making friends was easy. You just shared your cookies. She hoped with all her heart that he was right. As they walked through the halls of the diplomatic center, noticed watching everything with sharp eyes. He was looking for danger. He was looking for threats. He was doing what any father would do in a strange place. But his cubs were not looking for danger. They were looking at his snack bag. They were looking at this strange, furless creature who smiled and waved at them like they were already friends. And deep in their young hearts, they were already hopping that maybe, just maybe, they could be. The next morning came with soft rain tapping against the windows of the diplomatic center. Woke up early to make sure everything was perfect for the breakfast meeting. This was more than just a meal. This was the first time humans and would eat together in the same room. Was already awake when she came to get him. He sat on his bed, his snack bag open on his lap, counting the cookies inside. 1, 2, 3, 4, he said quietly. Enough for everyone. Smiled and helped him get dressed in nice clothes. Who is everyone, my love? The fluffy ones, said seriously. They looked hungry yesterday. The dining hall was large and beautiful. Long windows showed the rainy garden outside. 2 tables had been placed together in the middle of the room. One side had human food. The other side had food. When the family entered, noticed their fur was different today. His fur was a calm dark blue. His fur was soft gray with hints of green. The cubs and Lyra had fur that kept changing colors every few seconds. They were excited and could not hide it. Looked at the table and stopped walking. His 4 ears moved in different directions, like he was trying to understand what he was seeing. So much, he said quietly. And there was so much. On the human side there was rice and soup. There was kimchi and vegetables. There was fish and eggs. There were small dishes of different colors spread across the table like a painting. On the side there were plain gray cubes, 10 of them stacked neatly on a single plate. Noticed the difference immediately. She had read about food before, but seeing it in person made her heart feel strange. The cubes had everything a body needed to survive. They had vitamins and protein and energy, but they were just gray cubes, nothing more. Everyone sat down at the table, sat between his mother and the cubs sat between their parents. Lyra kept stretching her neck to look at the human food. Cleared his throat. We thank you for this meal, diplomat. Please call me, she said warmly. We are sharing food together. That makes us more than strangers. Did not know what to say to this. In his culture, sharing food was serious. It meant you were family or pack. Humans seemed to share food with anyone. He did not understand it, but he nodded politely. The meal began, picked up her chopsticks and began to eat, grabbed a piece of fish with his fingers and gently corrected him, ate quietly, his eyes always watching the room. Across the table, the family ate their gray cubes. They did not use tools. They simply picked up the cubes and bit into them. There was no joy on their faces, no pleasure. Eating was just something they had to do, like breathing. Lyra finished her cube first. She looked at her empty hands. Then she looked at the human side of the table, the colors, the smells, things she had never experienced before. Noticed her looking. He reached into his pocket and pulled out his snack bag. His mother was busy talking about something called trade agreements, was looking at his tablet. No one was watching. He opened the bag slowly, trying not to make noise. Inside were his favorite cookies. They were round and golden brown with little chocolate pieces inside. His grandmother made them for him every week. Lyra's 4 ears turned toward the sound. She saw the bag. She saw the cookies. She had never seen food that looked like that before. It was not gray. It was not a cube. It was round and pretty and smelled sweet. She made a small chirping sound without meaning to. "Heard it, Lyra, be quiet," she said softly. "We are in a meeting." Lyra lowered her head, but her eyes stayed on the cookie bag. The adults continued talking, explained how human trade ships could carry goods across the galaxy faster than ships, explained how technology could help humans build stronger buildings. It was important talk, historic talk. But the children were not listening. Slowly pulled one cookie from the bag. He looked at Lyra. Lyra looked at him. They did not speak the same language, but they understood each other perfectly. Pointed at the space under the table. Lyra's ears perked up. Who had been quiet the whole time saw what his sister was looking at. He leaned over to see better. His eyes went wide when he saw the cookie. Held up 3 fingers. Then he pointed under the table again. The message was clear: 3 of us, under the table, cookies. Minutes passed. The adults kept talking, was explaining something about mining operations, was listening carefully, was taking notes on her tablet, was watching the windows, always looking for danger that was not there. No one noticed when slipped off his chair and disappeared under the long tablecloth. No one noticed when followed him, moving as quietly as a shadow. No one noticed when Lyra pushed her chair back and crawled under the table, her fluffy tail disappearing behind the white cloth. The tablecloth hung all the way to the floor. Under the table, it was like a secret room, dark and quiet and hidden from the adult world above. Sat cross-legged on the soft carpet. He opened his snack bag and smiled at the 2 cubs who were staring at him with huge eyes. Above them was saying, "The trade agreement will benefit both species equally." Below them was breaking a cookie into 3 pieces. Above them was saying, "The council will need to review these terms." Below them, Lyra was sniffing the cookie piece with her small nose, her ears flat against her head in concentration. Finished her gray cube and turned to check on her cubs. Her eyes found empty chairs. For a moment she did not understand. Then her heart stopped. She said, her voice suddenly tight. Looked at her, he saw her face. He turned to look at the cubs' chairs. "Empty." Heard the change in his voice. She looked at his chair. "Empty." The room went silent. 4 parents stared at 3 empty chairs. The rain continued to tap against the windows, but no one heard it anymore. "Where are the children?" asked. His fur was already changing color, shifting to a dark red. Anger and fear mixed together. Jumped to his feet, his hand reaching for his communication device. "Lockdown. I need a full lockdown of the building right now." Made a sound that needed no translation. It was the sound of a mother who could not find her children. It was a sound that would be the same in any language, on any planet, in any species. Stood up slowly. Her heart was beating fast, but her voice stayed calm. "They are here. They must be here. Children do not disappear. But looking at the empty chairs, she was not so sure anymore. The diplomatic center became a storm of movement and voices. Guards ran through the hallways. Doors opened and closed. Radios crackled with urgent messages. Every room was being searched. Every corner was being checked. Stood in the middle of the dining hall, his fur now completely dark red. This color meant danger. This color meant I was ready to fight. His 4 ears moved in every direction, trying to catch any sound that might lead him to his cubs. "Find them," he said too. His voice was deep and dangerous. "Find them now." Nodded and spoke into his radio. "All teams report any sign of the children." The answers came back one by one. Negative, negative, negative. No sign of the children anywhere. Stood by the window, her body shaking. Her fur had turned pale, almost white. In culture, this meant pure fear. She had never been so scared in her life. Her cubs were gone, gone in a strange alien world, gone among creatures she did not fully trust. "How could this happen?" she whispered. "We were right here, we were watching them." Walked to her and put a gentle hand on her arm, flinched at the touch but did not pull away. "We will find them," said softly. "I promise you, we will find all 3 of them." "You do not understand," said. Her voice broke. "On Velar Prime, children never leave their parents' sight. Never. The universe is too dangerous. They know this. They are trained from birth. They would not just wander away." Thought about this. She thought about, wandered away all the time. He wandered to the kitchen when he smelled cookies. He wandered to the garden when he saw butterflies. He wandered to strangers when he wanted to share his snacks. Human children were different. Human children explored. Human children were curious. And sometimes human children led other children into trouble. "Does this sometimes," said carefully. Spun around, "Does what?" "Wanders off." Met his angry eyes without fear. When he wants to share food with someone, he goes to find them. He does not wait for permission. His fur flickered between red and purple. He was confused and angry at the same time. "Your child leaves without permission, to share food with strangers." "Yes," said simply. "It is how human children are." "That is madness," said. "That is dangerous and foolish." "Maybe," agreed, "but it is also how humans make friends." Looked up from his tablet. Security cameras showed all 3 children moving together through the east hallway. They were together. The human boy was in front, and the cubs were following him. "Following him where?" asked desperately. Touched his screen. They turned left at the intersection. Then they disappeared. "Disappeared?" His voice was a growl. "There is a blind spot in the camera coverage," admitted. "We are checking all nearby rooms now." Made a sound of frustration. He turned to one of the guards who had come down from the ship. They spoke in their own language, fast and urgent. The guard nodded and ran out of the room. Watched them thinking, where would go, what would he want? She looked at the table. She looked at the chairs. She looked at the half-finished breakfast. Then she looked at the floor. The tablecloth hung down, touching the carpet. It was long and white and covered everything beneath the table. A perfect hiding spot for a child who wanted to share cookies in secret. But no, the security cameras showed them leaving the room. They went to the east hallway. They were definitely gone. Or were they? Walked to the table. She picked up his chair and looked at it closely. Something was wrong. The chair was pushed out too far, like someone had left it in a hurry. She said, "Show me the camera footage again." Handed her the tablet, watched the video. She saw the 3 children in the east hallway. In front, the cubs behind him. They walked together, turned left and vanished into the blind spot. But something felt wrong. Watched it again and again. On the 4th time she saw it. "The time stamp," she said. "This footage is from last night. Look at the window in the background. It is dark outside." Grabbed the tablet back. His face went pale. Someone put old footage in the system. The cameras are showing yesterday's recordings." "What?" roared. "Your security has failed." "No," said. Her voice was calm, but her eyes were sharp. "The cameras are working fine, but someone, probably 3 small someones, found a way to make us look in the wrong direction." "My cubs would never know how to do that," said. "No," agreed, "but would." Stared at her. "Your 6-year-old son hacked our security cameras." Sighed. "He watched me do it once. I was testing the system for problems. He asked a lot of questions. I thought he was just curious." For a moment, no one spoke. A 6-year-old human child had fooled an entire security team. The idea was both impressive and terrifying. "Where are they then?" asked. "If they never left this room, where are they?" Turned back to the table, she walked toward it slowly. She could feel everyone watching her. All the guards. She reached the edge of the table and stopped. She listened. At first, she heard nothing. Just the rain on the windows and the breathing of the adults around her. Then, very quietly, she heard something else. A small chirp, the kind of sound a happy cub might make. And then a giggle, a human giggle, the kind of sound her son made when he was being silly with his friends. Smiled. She bent down slowly and lifted the edge of the tablecloth. 3 faces looked up at her from the shadows under the table. Was sitting in the middle, his legs crossed, his snack bag open on his lap. On his left was, curled up like a cat, his fur now a happy shade of yellow. On his right was Lyra, pressed against the side, her 4 ears relaxed and soft. Between them, in the middle of their little circle, was a single cookie. It was half-eaten. They had been taking turns. "Mama," said, not even a little bit sorry, "we were having a picnic." Did not know whether to laugh or cry, so she did both. Behind her, she heard and rushed forward. She moved aside so they could see. The 2 parents looked under the table. They saw their cubs. They saw the human boy. They saw the cookie. They saw the happiness on their children's faces. For a long moment, nobody moved. Nobody spoke. Then Lyra looked up at her father and chirped. She held up a piece of cookie toward him. "Share," she said in broken human language. It was the first human word she had ever spoken. Sfur changed color again, but this time it did not turn red with anger or purple with confusion. It turned a soft, warm orange. And for the first time since arriving on Earth, Ambassador did not know what to say. The space under the table was dark and warm and perfect. Had known it would be. He had hidden under tables before, many times. Under his grandmother's table when he wanted extra dessert. Under his school table when he did not want to do homework. Under every table he could find when he had something special to share. And he had something very special to share today. When he had first crawled under the tablecloth, the 2 cubs had followed him without question. Their big eyes had watched his every move. Their 4 ears had been pointed straight at him, listening for any sound. Had sat down on the soft carpet and patted the space next to him. "Come," he had said, "sit with me." The cubs had not understood his words, but they had understood his smile. They had understood his open hands. They had understood the way he looked at them like they were already friends. Had crawled closer first. He was braver than his sister. He had sat down next to and looked at the snack bag with curious eyes. Lyra had followed more slowly. She kept looking back at the tablecloth, worried that her parents might find them. But the sound of adult voices above them never stopped. The boring talk continued. No one had noticed they were gone. "Look," had whispered. He opened his snack bag and pulled out a cookie. "This is from my grandmother. She makes them every week. They are the best cookies in the whole world." The cubs had stared at the cookie. They had never seen anything like it. On Velar Prime, all food was gray. All food was cubes. All food was boring. This thing in the human boy's hand was round. It was golden. It had dark spots that smelled sweet and strange. It was beautiful. "Food?" had asked, trying out a human word he had learned from the translation device. "Yes," had said, nodding happily. Food, good food, happy food. He had broken the cookie into 3 pieces, equal pieces, fair pieces, because when you share with friends, everyone must get the same amount. That was the rule. He had handed 1 piece to Lyra, and kept 1 piece for himself. Now we eat together, had said. That makes us friends. The cubs had looked at each other. They did not know this rule. On Velar Prime, you only shared food with your pack, your family, the people you would protect and die for. Sharing food with a stranger was unthinkable. But this human boy was smiling at them. He was offering them something precious. He was treating them like they already belonged together. Had taken a small bite first. The taste had exploded in his mouth like nothing he had ever experienced. It was sweet. It was warm. It was soft and crunchy at the same time. His whole body had shivered with pleasure. He had made a sound that he had never made before, a sound of pure happiness. Lyra had watched her brother's reaction. She had seen his fur turn bright yellow with joy. She had seen his ears relax and fall to the sides. She had seen him close his eyes and chew slowly, wanting the taste to last forever. She had taken a bite too. The same thing happened to her. The sweetness, the warmth, the amazing feeling of eating something that was made to bring happiness, not just fill your stomach. She had chirped out loud without meaning to. Had laughed quietly. Good right, grandmother's cookies are the best. The 3 children had sat in the darkness under the table, eating their cookie pieces slowly. They had not talked much. They did not need to. They were together. They were sharing something special. That was enough. When the first cookie was gone, had pulled out another one, and another one after that. Each time he broke it into 3 equal pieces. Each time the cubs ate with wide eyes and happy sounds. Above them the adult world continued. Trade agreements, mining rights, shipping routes, important things for important people. Below them, something more important was happening. A human child and 2 alien cubs were becoming friends. Your food is strange, had said during their 4th cookie. His human words were getting better with practice. Good strange or bad strange, had asked. Good strange, had said seriously. Very good strange. Lyra had nodded in agreement. She was pressed against side now, her warm fur touching his arm. On Velar Prime, cubs only touched family members this way. But here, under this table, the rules felt different. The rules felt far away. Why do you share? She had asked. Her voice was soft and curious. Had thought about this question. It was a strange question to him. Sharing was just what you did. When you had something good, you gave some to others. That was how the world worked. Because it makes you happy, he had said finally. And when you are happy, I am happy, so we are all happy together. The cubs had looked at each other. This was a new idea, a strange idea, but also a beautiful idea. On Velar Prime, had said slowly, we only share with pack, family. But we are not pack, Lyra had added. We are not family. Had smiled at them. His smile was bright and simple and true. Not yet, he had said, but we are sharing cookies, so maybe we are starting to be. The cubs had not known what to say to this. Their hearts felt full of something new, something warm, something that felt like belonging. That was when the tablecloth had lifted. That was when space had appeared. That was when the secret under the table had been found. Now, with all the adults looking at them, the 3 children sat very still, was not worried. He never worried much about anything, but in Lyra were scared. Their parents looked so big from down here, so serious, so upset. But then their father's fur changed color. It turned orange, soft and warm like a sunset. And their mother made a sound, not an angry sound, not a scared sound, a different sound. A sound that might have been the beginning of tears. Lyra held up her cookie piece toward her father. Share, she said again. Looked at the cookie. He looked at his daughter. He looked at his son. He looked at the human boy who had led them under the table to eat strange food and become friends. He did not understand humans. He did not understand their customs. He did not understand why they made food that served no purpose except to taste good. But looking at his cubs' faces, he understood something else. He understood happiness. Real happiness, not the careful, controlled satisfaction of Velar Prime, but wild, free, innocent happiness. The kind that came from sharing cookies with a new friend under a table while the boring adult world continued above. He had never seen his children look like this before. And in that moment, Ambassador realized that maybe, just maybe, there were some things about humans worth learning. The children were gently pulled from under the table, held her cubs close, her fur slowly returning to its normal gray color. The fear was leaving her body, replaced by relief and confusion. Held's hand, checking him over even though she knew he was fine. Stood nearby, looking embarrassed. His security team had been fooled by a 6-year-old. He would never live this down. "I should apologize," said to the parents. "Should not have led your children away without permission. It was wrong of him." Raised one large hand. "Wait, do not apologize yet." His voice was quieter than before, less angry, more thoughtful. "I want to understand something first." He looked at. The small human boy looked back at him without fear, was not used to that. Most species were afraid of, but this child just smiled at him like he was any other adult. "Why did you share your food?" asked. Tilted his head, thinking about the question. "Because they looked hungry." "They were not hungry," said. "They had eaten their meal cubes." "But they were hungry for something else," said. "The fluffy one kept looking at my cookies. When someone looks at your food like that, you are supposed to share." 4 ears moved in different directions. He was trying to understand. Supposed to share. This is a rule among humans. Spoke up, not an official rule. But yes, many humans believe that if you have something good, you should share it with others, especially children. They learn this from a very young age. Why asked? The question was simple but deep. Thought for a moment. Because sharing makes both people happy. The person who receives feels valued. The person who gives feels generous. Both feelings are good feelings. "But food is a resource," said. "Resources should be used efficiently. Giving away resources to strangers is wasteful." "Maybe," agreed. "But humans do not always think about efficiency. Sometimes we think about happiness instead." Was silent for a long moment. His fur kept changing colors, shifting between shades of blue and orange. He was processing new information, challenging old beliefs. Spoke up, her voice soft. "Our cubs have never played with another child outside our clan." She looked at and Lyra, who were still watching with bright eyes. "On Velar Prime, children stay within the pack, always. They do not meet outsiders until they are adults." "That sounds lonely," said gently. Flinched slightly. "It is safe." "Yes," agreed, "but is it happy?" Did not answer. She did not need to. The answer was on her cubs' faces. They had just spent 20 minutes under a table with a strange alien boy, eating strange alien food, and they had been happier than she had ever seen them. Walked to the table and looked at the empty snack bag. A few cookie crumbs remained inside. He picked up the bag and examined it closely. "This food," he said, "what is it made of?" "Flour, sugar, butter, eggs, and chocolate," said. "My mother makes them for. It is an old family recipe." "And this food serves what purpose?" "It tastes good," said simply. "That is its purpose." Stared at her. On Velar Prime, every food was designed for nutrition, protein for muscles, vitamins for health, minerals for bones. Food was fuel, nothing more. The idea of creating food just because it tasted good was completely alien to him. But looking at the crumbs in the bag, looking at the happy faces of his cubs, he began to understand why humans did it. "We do not have this on Velar Prime," he said slowly. "We do not have food that is made for happiness." "No," asked. "No," set down the bag. We have efficient food, we have nutritious food, we have food that keeps us alive and strong, but we do not have snacks. He said the word carefully, like he was learning a new language, because in a way he was. Snacks are not about survival, explained. They are about enjoyment, about comfort, about sharing a moment with someone you care about. Looked at his cubs again. They were sitting on the floor now with between them. The three children were talking quietly, using simple words and lots of hand gestures, was showing how his ears could move in 4 different directions. Lyra was touching his hair, fascinated by how straight and thin it was compared to fur. They looked like friends, real friends, not diplomatic partners or trading allies, just 3 children who had found each other under a table. Ambassador said, stepping forward, I should apologize for the security failure. We will. Do not apologize, said. He surprised himself with these words, but he knew they were right. This failure taught me something important. Blinked, sir. It taught me that my cubs were brave enough to follow a stranger, that they were curious enough to try new things, that they were kind enough to share a moment with someone who was not their pack. His fur had settled into a warm orange color. These are not weaknesses. These are strengths I did not know they had. Moved to stand beside her mate, she took his large hand in hers. What are you saying? He looked at her with soft eyes. I am saying that maybe the humans are right. Maybe sharing with strangers is not wasteful. Maybe it is. Investing. Investing in what? Watched the 3 children laughing together on the floor. Had pulled another cookie from his pocket, a hidden one he had saved, and was breaking it into 3 pieces. Investing in friendship, said, in understanding, in a bigger pack than we ever imagined. That evening requested a change to the diplomatic documents. He asked for a new section to be added, a section about human childhood customs, a section about food-sharing rituals, a section about something called snacks. Who had been in a bad mood all day, laughed when he saw the request. It was the first time he had laughed since the delegation arrived. They want to learn about cookies, he said too. The most powerful species in the Outer Rim wants to learn about cookies. It is not about the cookies, said, smiling. It is about what the cookies mean. And what do they mean? Looked across the room. Was sitting on the floor now, something no ambassador had ever done during an official visit. His cubs were climbing on his back, trying to show him the games they had learned from. The human boy was teaching them how to play rock, paper, scissors. They mean connection, said. They mean joy. They mean that even in a universe full of strangers, it is possible to make friends. Watched the scene for a moment, then he shook his head. One cookie almost caused an interplanetary incident. Yes, agreed. But one cookie also built a bridge between 2 worlds. She pulled a cookie from her own pocket. She had started carrying them too, and handed half to. He looked at it, then at her, then at the happy families across the room. He took a bite. It was good. And for the first time, understood what all the fuss was about.